Okay, guys. So today we're going to be doing the mortgage protection with cashback option through America. And that's the one that I usually always choose with, people that I have that, have a younger appeal. If they're under 40, the cashback option can be very, very good with America. And so, that's pretty much what I'm going to focus on here. Let's see. And I will role play with one of you here so that I can go through this. So let me make sure I've got this set up here. Okay, so I usually start it with this. I started with this screen. You guys can see that?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And great. So let me just, okay, I'm going to role play with you, Tina. Okay.
Okay. All right.
So you're actually going to be a younger couple.
Okay.
And I'll just start out where I always start out. So sometimes there's a little bit of fumbling when I first start because I'm trying to get them on Zoom and stuff. And I may just default right to phone if they can't get on, but usually when they're younger, they can. So, hey, Tina, I'm glad you're able to make this appointment today. That's great. You did get a copy of my license and my ID that I texted to you earlier, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, perfect. So obviously it's always important to work with credentialed people. I'm sure you'd agree, right?
Absolutely.
And I've been doing this for a long time. I focus on mortgage protection. I also do life insurance and other programs that really involve income planning. So I can do all the shopping around for you because I have access to all the different companies that do business in California. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to ask just a few questions just to get an overview of your situation so I can make my best recommendations. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about your mortgage and your finances, a little bit about your health, and touch on your personal needs. And that way, anything that we find that you think might work, it's going to fit into your situation like a puzzle piece, and most importantly, fit into your budget. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, great. So your mortgage is around $295,000. Was that a refi? I think you said it was a refi, or was that a new purchase?
No, it was a refi.
Okay, perfect. Did you get a good rate on that?
We did.
Nice, nice. How much did it lower your payment?
By about $300.
Wow, that's great. It's always nice, as Ben Franklin said, penny saved is a penny earned, right?
Right.
So perfect. Now, as far as your overall mortgage goes, how much is that monthly?
About $1,680.
Okay, perfect. Excellent. And then what would you say you spend on utilities every month?
Gosh, I would say about $225.
Okay, great. And cell phone?
About $150.
Perfect. Cable or internet?
Our internet runs about $75 a month.
Okay, perfect. And then what about, do you have a car payment?
One car payment, and it's about $700.
Okay, great. And then car insurance?
Yes, I think that probably around $350 a month for the two.
Okay, perfect. And then what would you say for food expenses or any other monthly expenses that you have, like gardener or anything like that?
I would say that food runs us now currently probably $450, $500.
Okay,
Not really any additional expenses.
okay, perfect. So would you say your monthly bills are around 2,600, somewhere around there?
Yeah, I would say that.
Okay, great. And then what would you say your income is for you and your spouse?
For the two of us, we're both making about 6,000 a month.
Okay, great. Perfect. And so I would obviously engage your husband in that. So how much is your portion? And you would say 3,000, and you would say 3,000. And I'd say, okay, great, perfect. That gives me a good idea. Now, do you guys take any medications? So you're young and healthy, generally not, but do you take any medications?
Um, no, he had bronchitis not long ago and had some, antibiotic.
Okay, perfect. But nothing else, no major like
No,
pain prescriptions or anything in the last 5 years?
no.
Okay, did you have any prescriptions that you were prescribed by the doctor, but you never filled?
Um, yeah, I had a pain medication, but I never filled it.
How long ago is that?
Probably a year and a half or 2 years ago.
Okay, okay. Well, we'll take note of that. Every now and then it'll pop up and and sometimes there are certain insurers that are a little bit more flexible from that perspective. And then now, do you have anything else in place that, God forbid one of you didn't wake up tomorrow, would help to pay down that house or act like life insurance in the event that one of you passed away? Like an old
Um,
IRA or a 401k or life insurance.
I think that he has a 401k, but there's not a lot in it. Probably only about 60,000.
Okay. Okay, great. So that's a little bit of a, um, cushion, so to speak, right?
Right.
Okay, great. So perfect. Now, obviously, I've already given you my license and so forth by text, but that's another copy of it here. And now, when you're looking at your specific situation, so God forbid, you or Jim didn't wake up tomorrow. Which one of you is the person that earns the most in the household?
Um, I would say that he does because he does some side work and stuff.
Okay. So if Jim didn't wake up tomorrow, what would your life look like just trying to make the expenses without even taking into account the emotional turmoil?
It would be difficult. I certainly couldn't make the house payment and all the other bills.
Right. Yeah, that and that seems apparent. So obviously, that's obviously why we're sitting here today. Now, when you're looking at that, you wanted to make sure that if God forbid you didn't wake up tomorrow or something happened to Jim, that the house was paid off for either one of you. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, perfect. So when you're looking at mortgage protection, there are a few different areas you can look at. I mean, I deal with all of them, but I deal with mortgage protection, life insurance, final expense, accidental coverage, the full gambit of protection for young families. And also I deal with asset strategies for people that are nearing retirement so that they can plan for income and make sure they don't outlive their retirement. But you guys are sort of at the beginning of that. At least you've started that journey, which is great. Now, when you're looking at overall mortgage protection, there are a few different options that you can do. Okay. Now, the first option is paying the full mortgage off, right? When you're young and healthy, that's the best option, right? Because you want to be able to pay the full mortgage off. And getting this coverage in place at your age is probably the most important thing. Now, why would you think that it would be more important to get it in place at your age than when you're older?
Well, I'm sure older people have a closer, they're closer to death, and we're healthy right now.
That's the biggest reason, right? Because you're healthy right now, but also because you're young. Now, when you're young and healthy, are insurance companies more inclined to give you coverage?
Yes, I
And
believe
as you
so.
get older and your health changes, do you think it gets harder to even qualify and prohibitively expensive to even pay for?
Yes, because we had to do that for my father.
Oh, really? What happened with your dad?
Um, he had a policy, but it wasn't going to take care of my mom. And then he
Uh-oh.
had a stroke, and
Oh,
we had
wow.
to try to get more insurance for him.
After the
So
stroke?
yes, and he had 2 years that he had to um, live before the policy would actually kick in, before it would just pay back premiums.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah,
So
yeah.
what happened?
He did. He lived beyond the 2 years, and
Oh,
you know,
thank
the
goodness.
policy that took out. Yeah, right. It would
So
have been
you
100.
had a little bit of extra coverage.
Yes, yes, we were able to take care of my mom.
Excellent. Well, obviously, you've been through it, so you see the importance of how helpful, that can be when you need it most, right?
Right, right.
So in your specific situation, though, there are programs that are really designed to help you from either, just paying off the house if something major happens to you, or to help you while you're alive if something major happens to you while you're alive. So there's a company called Americo, which is probably the best in the mortgage protection area. And they have a plan that will cover you for the next 25 years. You guys have a 30-year mortgage, right?
Correct.
Okay. So the way that the plan works is it'll cover you for the next 25 years. And then at the end of that 25 years, if nothing happens, they give you all your premium dollars back, and you can just use that money to pay the whole house off. Does that sound
Really?
great or what?
Yeah. Do you mean they give me my money back that I put into the policy?
They give you every penny back at the end of 25 years. And
Do they
then
give
you
me-
just use it, take that chunk of cash and pay the rest of the mortgage off.
Huh? Do they give any interest or anything?
So most of these plans, when you have a cashback option, I do deal with other companies. The reason why I prefer Americo is because they give 100% of the cash back. In most of these cashback options, understand these insurance companies are taking on major liability, because if you passed away tomorrow, they have to pay that full $295,000 mortgage, right?
Right.
So that's their liability. Their whole goal is just to break even on the premiums that they receive and the claims that they pay out. So when they also have to pay out the full amount of the life of the premium that they brought in, they most insurance companies won't do that. All the other insurance companies I deal with that even have a cashback option will do 75% back. Americo is one of the only that will do 100% back. Does that make sense?
Right. And
So,
what's the rating on the company? I mean,
oh, it's
this
an
is really
A-rated
something.
company. I mean, they are a very strong company. They've been around for about 106 years, and they
Okay.
are well. The reason that I choose them is because they pay their claims. So when I've had clients that have had to send in a death benefit or a death certificate, I can get a check cut for them in 3 days, which is pretty amazing.
That is amazing. Took a
Yeah,
long time.
because
Yeah.
what's that?
It took a long time for my dad. So that is amazing. 3 days.
Well, that's an important point, because in most cases, when you have an experienced field underwriter that can be your advocate and act on your behalf, you can end up with a much quicker response from an insurance carrier, especially if it's somebody who does so much work with specific carriers. Because of that, I've been able to intervene on my client's behalf and get that cash payout much quicker. So in effect, I actually come with the policy, so to speak.
Well, that's great. Do you
And
like
it's
your
always,
job?
I'm sure you'd agree that it's important to have an advocate in your corner, right?
Right. And you like your
Right.
job? You're not leaving tomorrow?
So if you look at the mortgage protection and you look at the various options that are available, you can either pay the full mortgage off or pay half the mortgage off. Okay. Now, if with that, remember, it builds up that cash back. So you get all of that back at the end of 25 years. But if anything happens to you major, let's say it's just a doctor says you have 2 years to live, you get 75% of that money while you're alive, which is pretty important to be able to have that if, God forbid, you really needed to draw on that. Correct?
I need you to explain that to me again, because I don't understand that.
Right. Well, if a doctor said, look, you've been diagnosed with something terminal and you have 2 years to live, then they would give you access to 100% of the death benefit of that $295,000 while you're alive. And
Even if I only paid in for 2 or 3 years?
yep, that's what life insurance is designed around. Exactly. So you have that extra added protection, which is important, right?
But you're saying this is a 25-year note, right? Or
Well, yes, for the cash back, but remember, the whole reason that you're getting this is because if you passed away tomorrow, you'd want Jim to be able to pay off the house, or he'd want you to be able to pay off the house, right?
right?
So that's why you have the life insurance in place in the first place. This is
Okay.
just an extra added benefit that not only if nothing happens, you get all your money back, but if something major happens that you lived through, you also have access to that whole death benefit while you're alive. So it's just extra added benefits. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Perfect. So if you're looking at the Americo cashback option for the entire mortgage, do you have a pen handy and you can write this down real quick?
Sure.
Okay, perfect. You all set?
Yes.
Okay, great. So if you did the 295,000 for you and for Jim, it would be $190 a month for you. And at the end of 25 years, you'd get $57,000 back. If you did the $295,000 benefit for Jim, it would be $194. And at the end of 25 years, you'd get $57,000 back. Now, if you did half the mortgage, for you, it would be 99 rather, and you'd get 29,000 back in 25 years. And for Jim, it would be 100, and you'd get $30,000 back for him at the end of 25 years. Now, we don't know for sure if you're going to qualify, but if you were to qualify, which one of those benefits would fit your needs and your budget?
I certainly think that the full mortgage would be very important for Jim,
Right.
on him, and then half for me.
Right.
And I
Okay,
think
that
that
makes
would, yeah, that would fit into my budget
perfect.
or
And
our
Jim,
budget.
that sounds about right for you as well?
Sure.
Okay, perfect. Great. Excellent. And then let's see, I've got what is your middle initial?
Mine is M and his is S.
Okay, perfect. And I've got your address as 1414 West Paradise Avenue in Fountain Valley with a zip code of 93277. Is that about right?
That's correct.
Okay, perfect.
When do we have to have our physicals?
Oh, the good thing is that these are all non-medical plans. So I'm glad you brought that up. What that means is that it's all of the underwriting is done electronically. So you don't have to have a nurse come by and poke and prod and do a physical. And especially right now with the way things are with the pandemic, it's always a relief to not have to go through that. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, I can't believe that.
Yeah, no, that's why I like Americo so much, because most people don't have to go through that, and the qualification process is very, very efficient as well. So, and then I've got the best phone number for you, 559-726-6845. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes,
Okay,
that's correct.
perfect. And then I've got your email as, let's see, Susie7123@gmail.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, perfect. And then what's your social?
374-93-7591.
Okay, perfect. So after I get past that point, I know that they've started giving me all the information that I need. And so
Okay.
I ask those questions and have them affirm things I already know that they already know I know.
Okay.
But it just builds rapport as you're asking those questions, so that if you ask 3 things that they've given you information for, that you already have information on, and then you ask for their social, it's a much easier process than starting out with, okay, what's your social?
Okay.
Then that can cause a lot of push and pull. But if
Right.
you are just rolling with information and you've got a list of things that you're doing, and that's just one of the things on the list, they'll usually just give you no pushback at all.
Okay.
And in this particular case, this woman was like highly anxious, and she called me back that night and the next morning and did all this research on me and everything else. I've never had anybody do that.
Yeah.
But, that night I sent her all my stuff, linked to my website, my license and ID again, and all of this stuff. And then I called her the next day as well to make sure that she was, feeling comfortable, right?
Right.
Because they'd done this all over the phone with me. Now, they had done a Zoom meeting. I've been able to get people to give me all their personal information right over the phone, just texting their information to them, right?
Right.
So it does take a lot of nuance, but as you see, I built rapport through the presentation, right? I didn't spend any time building rapport.
Okay.
I built it as we were going along. And usually I'll just make funny asides, or I'll talk about something that they've mentioned. I probably didn't build it as much as, I could have by asking, hey, do you guys have kids and stuff like that? I didn't get into all of that stuff, but it's the demeanor with which you do that that gives you better momentum for when you're getting into the application. And so I generally assume the sale, don't really ask. And sometimes I get, sometimes I think, well, I probably should have structured a little bit better and put all the requirements up front at the beginning of the presentation, but I don't always do that. And I've only had that become an issue, a handful of times.
Okay.
It was an issue the other night. I had some guy who was just like, well, I'm not going to do that. And he like hung up on me. So I got to the banking info and I was like, okay. But I've had that happen before, and I've called them back and they've been like, oh, sorry, we got disconnected. And they just finished the app and, but so once you've got to this portion, then you can say, okay, great. The way they do the underwriting here, as I said, is electronic. And I'm going to be sending you a link right now so that we can do the underwriting. It's just gives the insurance company the ability to do that. So all it really says is that all of your privacy is protected through HIPAA. The only thing they're accessing is some of your medical records so that they can do underwriting on this plan. So I'm going to send you that email right now. Okay. And then they get the email like, okay, just put in your last 6 digits of your social. You can also change that number to like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the app as well if you want to. But it's the last 6 digits of their social normally. They launch it, they sign it, and then they complete that. And then I go through the questions. And I ask the questions because that helps me to build up this anticipation or a feeling that maybe they're not going to qualify.
Okay.
Have you ever been diagnosed with cancer? Have you ever been diagnosed with gastrointestinal issues? Have you ever been diagnosed with kidney or liver issues? And all of those things. And then I'll make, things like, wow, there's so many things that can go wrong. It's pretty lucky that we're healthy, isn't it? Right. I'll say little things like that during the application, which I think, and it may just be something that I'm doing for myself, but I think it builds up a little bit of apprehension for them as to whether or not they're going to qualify. Right. And then when I get to the banking, I'll say, and which bank do you guys work with? And they'll say, oh, such and such. I'll say, oh, okay, great. Well, we work with so many banks. We've got most of their information in our system. And then I'll just Google the bank and say bank and routing number for that institution. And I'll say, okay, great. Yep, I've got them in my system here. The routing number I have for that is 121000538. Does that match with what you have?
Okay.
And then they go, how do you have my banking information? Sometimes they do that. I'm like, oh no, that's just the routing number. We work with so many institutions. It's already pre-populated in our system and we always have access to it. Can you go get your info so you can verify if that's the right one?
That's good. Okay.
Okay, that's how I ask for them to go get their checkbook in many cases in a virtual situation. If I'm in the house, I just say, go get me a voided check, and I, do like that. Go get me a voided check. But, and then once they've done that, then they verify it and I say, okay, great. And what's the account number? And every
Right.
now and then they'll say, well, why do you need that? Well, they need to know you have a bank, don't they? Right. That's what Jack said.
Yeah.
Keep it simple. Right.
Right.
I used to be like, well, and give a big explanation. You don't need that. They just need to know that you have a bank. Okay, great. And then, so I'll finish filling that out and I say, okay, well, now it's going to go through underwriting. I'll know for sure if I can submit it to the carrier. Right. Now, some people really want to tell people that they're approved right in the home. I usually end the call with this. I say, great. So I'm going to submit it to the carrier for underwriting. And normally it takes about 48 hours for them to approve you. So if they don't approve you, I'll be calling you back within 48 hours and letting you know that we have to go another direction. So cross your fingers that I don't give you a call.
Okay.
And then they'll laugh and I'll say, yeah, but if they do approve you, you'll know, because you'll see them take the premium. Now you can breathe a sigh of relief when you see that, because you know your coverage is in place. And then you're going to get the policy in the mail about 2 weeks later. And by then, even if they've given me some pushback in the beginning, most of the time they're like, oh, that's great. Every now and then I'll have somebody say, well, what do you mean? I thought I was just, getting approved or just getting a quote. And I'm like, well, we do have to put you through underwriting. If you do get approved, I'll give you a call within 48 hours. And then I'll switch that up and I'll call them and resell them to say, hey, congratulations, you got approved and blah, blah, blah. Right.
Okay.
Every now and then they won't take the policy, but most of the time they will. And instead of just leaving it sort of weird at the end, I want to, if there's still some closing that needs to be done after that, if I've calmed their nerves and they're being weird at that point, then I will say, look, obviously this is important for you and Jim. You let me know that if God forbid he didn't wake up tomorrow, you wouldn't be able to pay this mortgage, right?
Correct.
So you know how important this is. So we're going to hope that you get approved, because you'd want to make sure that your house was going to be able to be paid off if one of you didn't wake up tomorrow, right?
Yes. Yes.
So
That's
perfect. So I'm
important.
crossing my fingers that we get you approved. And, and I'll call you within 48 hours to let you know. Now that's for the people that gave me a bunch of pushback, right?
Okay.
But if they didn't, then I just use that same statement, great. If you don't get approved, I'll know within 48 hours and I'll give you a call. So cross your fingers that I don't give you a call, right? But if you do get approved, you'll know it because you'll see the premium. You can breathe a sigh of relief the minute they take payment, because it means your coverage is in place. And then you'll get the policy in about 7 or 10 days later after that. Okay.
Okay. What if something would happen to us a day or two after they took the premium?
You're covered. The minute they take the premium, you're covered.
For the full amount? We don't have to wait.
You don't have to wait for anything. If God forbid one of you passed away tomorrow, the moment that premium was applied, you're covered.
Okay.
Okay.
All
So
right.
it was a real pleasure speaking with both of you today. I'm going to text you my my electronic business card as well. And if you have any questions or any concerns or anything like that, I'm only a phone call away. And then you can go a step further and also talk about the protection network. If you've built up your beneficiaries enough and you've said, look, there's, if anything happened to you and anything happened to Jim, who would the benefit go to then? If you guys were traveling together or what have you, right? And try to get 2 or 3 more beneficiaries. And then you can talk to them about setting up a protection network. I want to make sure that, your beneficiaries know that you have a policy in place. So I promise you, I'm going to give them a call so that, because gosh, there are millions and millions of dollars of life insurance that go unclaimed every year because people didn't know that their loved ones had a policy in place. And that's a tragedy. So we want to avoid that, right?
Yes,
So I promise you, I'm going to give the other people that that are sort of secondary beneficiaries a call to let them know that this is here just in case. Okay,
okay,
perfect. And then there's a whole other video on that, but that's the simple way of setting it up so you can call those people and say, hey, I just did life insurance for your mom or your relative, and we wanted to make sure that you were part of that safety network so that if anything happens, you've got my information so that you can make sure that a claim is made. Because a lot of people walk by, forget that there's life insurance in place and never make a claim. And they say, oh, great, perfect. And, and I also can do a free policy review for you just as a courtesy as well. I don't have any life insurance. Oh, well, we can also, go over that real quick and I can give you information on how that might work for you. So that's a very simple way to leverage what you're currently doing with your current clients, and something I'm making a commitment to being much better at this year. Because truth be told, I'm not the best at asking for referrals, but that's probably a more comfortable way of asking for them.
right.
So anyway, that's pretty much the overview of the presentation as far as that goes. And I figured you guys could get some benefit from it. It is being recorded, so you will be able to access this, at a later time or whatever. I'll forward it out to you guys as well so that you can, review it and look at different word tracks or verbiage that I use. But most of what I use, I got from other people and just adapted it to my own style.
Right. Well, that was great.
Yeah. So perfect.
Really helpful.
Hey, you're welcome. Does anybody else have any questions? I've got like 5 minutes.
Matt, could you email me the presentation rather than the way that you sent it to me? I think you sent it to me on Google Docs.
Did I send you a presentation on Google Docs?
I thought that's how it came, but I couldn't download it for some reason.
Okay.
If you could just email it to me, then
Yep.
I can get that for mine for tomorrow night.
I can do that. Yeah, we'll talk about that offline. So any other questions, guys?
No, that was great, Max. Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome. Thanks so much. And I'm going to be logging back into Jax now. I've got a couple of sort of difficult presentations coming up because of the way the appointment's set. So we'll see if I can give some good pointers to people, whether I close them or not. It'll be a good experience.
Hey, Matt, real quick.
Yeah.
We could do it offline. I just had some questions about just like the cash back options and everything, and like just incentives. And I get a lot of kickback on why would the insurance company do this? It doesn't make sense.
Right.
And me, I'm kind of like the math guy. I like doing math and stuff. And so I just kind of want to try to understand like the insurance company's incentive for doing some of this stuff, because but we could take this offline if you'd like to.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'll give a quick explanation and we can end with that.
Yeah.
So, why would an insurance company even give you the money back? Well, they want to give you an incentive and utilize it as a means for helping to secure your future, whether you live or not, right? So if you get a big lump sum of cash after 25 years, I'm sure you'd agree that would help secure your future as well, right?
Of course.
So the way that insurance companies make money is they are required by law to take every dollar that they get in premium and invest it in a bond portfolio and then pay out death claims. And their whole goal is to break even on that whole process, right? And then while they're waiting to pay death claims, they invest that in a bond portfolio, and that's where they make their profits. So their goal is to help you.
That makes sense.
They just want to break even and make a little bit of money on their bond portfolio and pay out death claims. So the premium is a little more expensive for these cashback options because they also have to pay all the premium back to you.
Right.
So they need a little bit more money to invest over those 25 years to make the kind of profit they need in order to give the money back.
No, that was a perfectly short explanation. That's all I needed right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yep.
So perfect, guys. Have a great night. And I'm going to be logging on to FFL Financial. I'm sorry, financialdials.com with a password of FFL if you guys have been on there at 6. Person may or may not show up, but hey, we'll be able to maybe see some real life situations with a couple people that were a little cantankerous when I was setting the appointment. So we'll see how it goes. So you
Okay.
guys have a great night.
Thank you.
Hey,
Thank you.
thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye.